My name is Sarah Dreibelbis. I am the whiskey buyer at Le Grand Triage on the Upper East Side, and it's Memorial Day! Woo! Happy Memorial Day. I know this is the unofficial kickoff to summer, and a lot of us are probably cracking open a nice, cold, refreshing beer. But Sarah, you say, we're not here about beer. We're here about whiskey. Ha ha, say I, but all whiskey is in fact, in a way, beer. What? Say you? Well, it sounds like it's time for some whiskey science. Ta-da-ta-ta-ta. It's whiskey science time. So whiskey is distilled from grains. Distillation is a process of concentrating alcohol. So in order to distill, we need to have alcohol. How do you get alcohol from grains? You ferment the grains with yeast. Fermenting grains with yeast to create something with an ABV between 5 and 10%? Why, that sounds like beer. In fact, all whiskey is made from something called distiller's beer. It is those fermented grains and yeast. It's about 5 to 10% ABV, but it's probably not as tasty as your favorite go-to pint at the bar. When brewers are making actual beer that's intended to be just bottled, sipped, enjoyed, delicious, they're adding different flavors, things like hops. They're also choosing the yeast and the grains that they're using, specifically for the flavors that they're gonna have post-fermentation. When we're working to make whiskey, we know that we're gonna be distilling it, aging it, doing some extra stuff to it, so we don't really care if our distiller's beer is good or not, because we care about the end product. But what if you make whiskey out of real beer? If you make whiskey out of actual beer, you get something like what Charbet has created in their Doubled and Twisted. Charbet is one of several distillers that their whole thing is taking actual bottle-ready beer and making it into whiskey. So for their Doubled and Twisted, it's kind of like the perfect whiskey beer marriage, because 50% of what is in here is 3-year-old single malt whiskey. So malted barley whiskey, easy, we know what that is. The other 50% is a combination of aged stout beer that has been distilled to a whiskey proof and aged Pilsner beer that has also been distilled to a whiskey proof. And they actually source their beer from California breweries. A lot of what's in this one is from Bear Republic Brewery. They make stuff that you put in a bottle and drink as beer. So it's intended to be stopped at that point, and Charbet's like, no, let's just take it a little bit further. There are a couple of other distilleries that do this. There are other breweries that do this. There are people that age whiskey in beer casks and then go back and forth, but this is kind of a cool, simple example of like just taking beer, whiskey, distilling them up together, making something beautiful. Definitely like sweet, rich, and malty. But there's also kind of a coffee with cream type thing happening, which is really reminiscent to what I think some of my favorite stouts also kind of smell and taste like. So starting to get that tie-in already. Starts off so creamy and rich, almost like a white chocolate fudge and like toasted cereal. But then as soon as you swallow, there's this kind of sudden wave of almost hoppy, bitter, beer-like flavors like mandarin orange peel and lemon verbena, and these really bright, kind of fruity, hoppy, bitter type things happening. If you cannot decide between beer and whiskey, like, good news, friends. You can have the best of both worlds. Whatever you decide to cheers with this summer, have a wonderful one. Eric will be back later this week, Wednesday, Friday, more wine, very exciting. Time, have a very happy Memorial Day. Stay home, stay safe, stay awesome.